Now, just to compare these fibres with a hair, you can see the diameter of a hair down at the bottom right. So you can see, if you compare that with the asbestos fibres up on the top left, the difference in their size from a human hair. Where is it used? Well, it shouldn't be used very much in New Zealand now, but it was used in asbestos cement products, for roofing cladding pipes, in insulation, for boilers, pipes, for steel, in brakes linings, lino backing and decorative ceilings. And it's the latter issue that I think is the major one that we have to be concerned about, because this is the big exposure issue for the remediation of houses and renovation of houses. Now let's look at what diseases can occur from asbestos exposure. Well, there's four main ones. The first one deals with a thickening or a scarring of the lining of the lungs. Now, if you can imagine your lungs are covered in glad wrap. Some of the fibres migrate to the surface of the lungs and lead to a reaction there, and that results in a scarring, and we call this pleural changes or pleural plaques. Generally speaking, it doesn't lead to any symptoms, but if the extent of the plaque is great, then it can limit respiration. Asbestosis is a condition that affects the lung tissue itself, and it leads to gradually developing shortness of breath. The cases we tend to see now are usually in their late 70s, often retired, so doctors don't even ask them, have they ever worked with asbestos, so we get an underestimate. Now, lung cancer is a difficult one because of the confounding factor of smoking. And in fact, lung cancer, as notified to our register, is under-notified. The reason being that most doctors, when they see a case of lung cancer and ask the person if they smoke, and they say have smoked or they are smoking, put the cause down to smoking and don't ask the important question, what do you do? What was your job? Now, the one that concerns us most is mesothelioma. While we're pretty convinced that there's a good dose-exposure relationship between the other three diseases, we do find cases of mesothelioma, which is a nasty condition affecting the lining of the lungs. It's a cancerous condition, and the outlook is usually pretty grim. It often presents with fluid on the lungs, not always easily diagnosed initially, and requires quite careful investigation to confirm it. But we do know that our mesothelioma statistics in New Zealand, that's the statistics kept by the Cancer Registry, are pretty accurate and measure the extent of the asbestos problem very clearly in New Zealand.